Today I gathered 26 amazing artists and made them swap art styles. Oh yeah, that's all I had for a creative intro. So let's get into it. First up, Snowbyrde and SoonyBloony.
Hi, I'm Snowbyrde and I switched art styles with SoonyBloony. I feel like I really enjoyed drawing in Soonie style. It's so cute, it has its own life to it, it has a whole identity, and I just love it. I feel like with me personally, I always add really unnecessary details to every single drawing and I take 10 hours to draw each drawing. But with Soonie style, I was able to finish it within the hour because it is so straightforward, it's neat, it's clean, and it was so satisfying to me. Yeah, I felt really bad trying to explain my style to Soonie because my style is not very consistent. I go from semi-realism to cartoony and there is no consistency anywhere. So honestly, I'm keeping my fingers crossed for them. But yeah, I really enjoyed switching styles with Soonie. I felt like it's really cool how you can look at Soonie's art style and know that they drew it. And I feel like I kind of want to take that back into my style, where you can look at my style and see like, hey, this is who I am too. And maybe I can also stop overthinking with my art and start cutting down how long it takes too. But yeah, overall, I had tons of fun.
Hi, I'm Soonie, and I had a lot of fun attempting to replicate Snowbyrde's style. I definitely can't say I was the most confident person in the room, but I think I pulled through. Snowbyrde was super duper helpful when it came to references, and luckily for me, her character also wears a turtleneck, so I didn't have to look very far for that. Initially, I was pretty scared when I checked her Instagram and saw beautiful, fully rendered pieces. That's something I don't really do. I'm more of a circle to a fill bucket kind of person. But honestly, I think going in and adding that extra detail might have been my favorite part. I tend to neglect that part when drawing, so it was a fun challenge. Looking back, I wish I went for a smaller brush size for the line art, but I think overall I'm pretty happy with the final result, and I'm glad I was able to find a cat reference so I can include truffle and still be true to the style. In the future, I might experiment more with trying other styles and finding one that clicks with me, but for now I think that concludes my bootleg channel mockup, so Snowbyrde, it was an honor.
Next up, SammiYammi and Pistachiomi.
Hi, my name is Sammy and I swapped with Pistachiomi. Did you like drawing in your partner's style? Yes, it was so cute. I really enjoyed drawing in a different style. It was really interesting and very fun to do. What did you like most about your partner's style? I really liked the blue. It was very interesting. I liked doing the blue line art and the eye was probably my favorite part. And then the airbrush where it's like kind of like a sandy spray paint texture, it was really fun to do. So yeah, those are my answers. Bye!
Hello! My name is Naomi Pistachiomi, and I swapped art styles with SammiYammi, also known as Sammy Likes Monkeys. 1. Did you like drawing in your partner's art style? I really liked drawing in Sammy's art style. It was very, very satisfying. I like my lines to have a lot of difference in thickness, but with Sammy's, they like one thickness for their line art, and I think that took away so much stress during the drawing. And I really liked doing the little outline on the edges of the shadows. Very, very nice. 6. Did you have to learn something new and specifics while drawing in your partner's style? One thing I had to learn how to draw was wrinkles. I like my clothes to be very cartoonish, so usually that means no wrinkles. But Sammy really likes wrinkles in their drawings. I was so nervous, but I think they look okay. 10. Do you think it might be hard for your partner to draw in your style? No. I think that Sammy is an amazing artist. Time and time again, she just shows up and does amazing work. So I'm completely confident in her ability to replicate my style because she is just an amazing artist. There is nothing she can't do.
Next up, Chimisann and Lady Reaver.
Hello, I'm Fernanda and I'll be attempting Lady Reaver's art style. I had such a fun time drawing in her style. It's so pretty and colorful and I loved all the details in it. My favorite part was definitely coloring the drawing. There's a lot of small details that go into it and I'm particularly a big fan of the dot texture she uses for her drawings. It's a pretty small detail, but I feel like it adds so much to the drawing. A big difference I noticed between our art styles though was the eyes. She doesn't do line art for the outer parts of the eyes, which is so cool. I was so excited to try that. It gives the eyes a dreamy effect, which was so fun to do. I loved adding applying all the sparkles and details to the eyes. If I'm being honest, I don't think Lady Reaver would have a hard time with my style since it doesn't really have much detail in it, especially compared to hers. But I hope it's because of that she won't have too hard of a time trying out my style and that she has fun with it. Throughout this process, I really enjoyed drawing in Lady Reaver's style. I got to try a lot of new techniques with this drawing, and it was nice trying out a new style in general. Thank you to Lee for hosting this collab. I had a great time and can't wait to see what everyone else cooked up.
Unfortunately, Lady Reaver was unavailable for this collab, so I tried to draw in Fernanda's style without communicating. Fernanda's style scares me because it is so different from mine, and everything is so intentional. From the placement of the eyes to the way the lines make readable shapes, her style is very specific, but honestly, it's so fun to look at. I tried to get the feel for the style in the beginning and started working on a piece. Our styles are very different, but I had a very fun time trying to get everything together. What do you think? Next up, Ikianic and Meetwig.
I really love drawing in Molly's style. I had a lot of fun. Honestly, when I first took a look at some of her work, I already knew that I was going to love it because it's such a fun and whimsical style. Yeah, overall, I just had a very good time. My favorite part about drawing in Molly's style is actually figuring out what character to draw. Molly draws these characters with animal attributes. I wouldn't say that they are furries. They are more humanoid, but not really. They're really unique to her. Like, I've never seen anything like it. Because I usually just draw humans. Just regular humans. Like your neighbor. Okay, I draw your neighbor. So it was definitely fun to figure out what character I should draw. So I just drew this like deer guy. I don't know. I just invented him on the spot. He's really cute and I think I would definitely love to bring him back. I had a hard time explaining my own style because honestly, I don't even know what I'm doing. I've only started doing digital art maybe like about a year ago. I have done digital art in the past, but I wasn't consistent with it. I used to use my finger on Ibis paint. Yeah, I used to be a finger artist. So I'm definitely still learning and improving. Within the last year, I have definitely learned a lot and learned new techniques. This challenge definitely made me want to try other art styles in the future, especially art styles that are so different from mine. It is important to get out of your comfort zone, especially as an artist, because that's how you grow. So I definitely need to learn to do all the shading and rendering and whatnot. It still scares me though, but I want to try it. Subscribe to me. Mwah.
Kian's style is gorgeous and I had a lot of fun drawing in it. He provided me with a detailed guide on how to draw in his style with some amazing references that were a great help throughout this process. I was a little nervous going into this. As artists, we put a lot of ourselves into what we create, and so art as a whole can be such a personal endeavor. And because of that, I wanted to do it justice. So I really took my time with this and tried to reference the guide that Kian sent me as much as possible. I found that a big difference between my art style and Kian's art style was the kind of characters we draw. Most of my characters have animal motifs and features, but most of the references Kian sent to me were humans. So in order to capture their style as accurately as possible, I decided to draw my D&D character Kixie, who is an elf. Kixie also worked well for this because she already has quite a warm color palette, and Kian said that he tends to use warmer colors, which I also happen to like using, so that was nice. The biggest thing about this challenge I wasn't expecting to be so difficult was explaining my style. I thought it would be easier, but as I looked at my own work, I couldn't figure out where to start. It took me a long time to really understand what the key features of my art style are, which I thought was a little funny since it's my art style, surely I should know that, but I surprised myself. I've also done a lot of experimenting with my art recently, so I was nervous I wouldn't have enough consistency in my references. In the end, I think I sent way too many references because I kept finding more details that I thought were important to mention, so I hope I didn't overwhelm him. All in all, this was a very fun experience, and I enjoyed sitting down and just looking at art and thinking about art and taking my time to explore this different style. It was refreshing to just think about art and nothing else, especially after focusing on exams. I hope I did Kian's style justice, and I hope they had fun drawing in my style too.
Next up, Emppu and Zombie Barcode.
Hi, I'm Emppu, and I got the honor to be paired with Zombie in this art style swap. I chose to draw my Ninjago OC Roy in his style because I felt he would fit it the best. If I had to use one word to describe Zombie's art style, it would be gorgeous. Honestly, I loved drawing in Zombie style. When I started drawing my part, I really just locked in and enjoyed every hour I got to spend making it. The way Zombie renders hair is just straight up beautiful. I spent most of my time trying to make the hair in my version of his style just as shiny and detailed, but I don't know how well I succeeded in that in the end. I really did try my best. I also adore the way he draws hands. Like, you gotta teach me your ways, man. I noticed a few things that are clearly different between zombies and my style. I tend to use more warmer and saturated colors, while his colors are more subdued and maybe slightly colder. His line art is also much thinner than mine, and the way we use line art for details and such in general is quite different. I also feel like my art style is a bit more cartoonish than his. I am the one you would call an art chameleon. I have had multiple very different art styles during my art journey, and I basically taught myself to draw by replicating my favorite manga artists' art styles when I was like 10 years old. So that definitely helped me a lot with this challenge and made it feel easier.
Hello, my name is Zombie and I swapped with Emppu. Did I like drawing in my partner's style? In my opinion, I think I really did love doing it because I spent a lot of time trying to study a little bit and I included a little bit of my own style into it. But other than that, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was completely different than what I'm used to. So it posed as a really good challenge for me to broaden my style. Does this make me want to try other styles in the future? Possibly. I came into this challenge knowing that I was going to do something that I'm not so comfortable doing. So that challenge allowed me to open my eyes to the possibility of me improving my art style or constantly switching, and I might have a video about that, so yeah. I think something that I might keep from my partner style is just the simplicity of it. My partner style is very rendered, but also very simple at the same time. So they both go hand in hand in such a harmony that I think I kind of lack in my own art. So seeing that balance, I think I will hold on to that. Anything else you'd like to tell the audience? Subscribe to Lee.
Next up, Karina and Jayisbadatart.
Hello everybody! I'm Karina and I swapped art styles with Jay. For the art, I'm going to be drawing my OC Starla since I feel like an alien character would fit in really well with their art style. Yeah, it was genuinely so much fun, like for real. My favorite part was the coloring and the shading, especially at the end where I got to go like a little crazy with layering the textures. I really love Jay's art style. It is so fun and has that like cartoony look that is really charming and unique. Their art is really nice to look at. It genuinely made me so happy just looking at it. Like literally the second best part of this whole collab was just getting to stare at all of their art for hours. I was pretty confident. I generally really enjoy getting to draw in different art styles and experimenting with that, and I would like to say that I am pretty decent when it comes to recreating other art styles. I've never really tried drawing in another artist's style, but I think that this was a really successful attempt. Overall, this challenge was really, really fun, and I'm so happy that I got to do this. Yeah, thank you!
Yo, what's up? I'm Jay. This collab was genuinely so cool and so much fun to participate in, and I'm here to answer some of the questions that are part of the questionnaire. Did I like drawing in my partner's art style? Yes, most definitely yes. Sure, it most definitely was a challenge for me. I do think a challenge is a good thing, and I had a really fun time trying to figure out what components of their art style were easiest to do in my capabilities and what parts weren't, and trying to push myself to get as close as I could to that art style. What was the most difficult thing about drawing my partner's art style? I am actually going to have to be so for real, it's the rendering. Looking at my art style and the things I draw, I have come to notice that I hardly render at all. Cleaning up lines, sure, it's a big thing, but rendering is something I hardly ever take into consideration. And the artist that I was paired up with renders so beautifully and so cleanly, I struggled so bad with this. Oh my gosh. Does this make me want to try out any art styles in the future? Most definitely. I think this also made me realize how much I struggle with adapting art styles, because I do believe that that has been something I've struggled with a really long time. I hardly draw fan art and things from other fandoms or really any medias due to the fact that I can't really grasp their art style, and if I can't grasp their art style, I feel like I just can't draw the character. And I think this collab really made me realize how much I do struggle with that. Any experiences that made this challenge easy? I really do think it was the communication with my partner, and also how we made little videos explaining what we do for our art style, things like rendering, things like line art, and also art examples that really helped me and maybe even helped my partner when it came to my part of that. They were amazing at communicating, and again, I had such a fun time. But that's really all I had to say. Again, I did struggle with some components, especially when it came like a rendering or even their anatomy, but I do think this was a really nice step out of my comfort zone, and I had so much fun doing it. Bye!
Next up, Tansi.berrie and Helium.circus.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Tansi.berrie. My partner for the style swap was Helium.circus. My first impression of her art was that it was really cute. Her rendering is very gentle, and you can tell that there's a lot of personality and passion behind the art that she makes. I think for me, my biggest difficulty was getting the proportions right. We both have very anime-inspired styles, which I think actually made it harder to replicate, just since I was so used to my own preferences, so it made it harder to totally switch over to hers. I definitely struggled a lot, but I think that's one of the fun parts about this collab. It gave me a chance to get outside of my comfort zone and make a friend along the way. My favorite part of her style is the way that the faces were drawn, specifically the blush, so I tried my best to do it justice. However, we may have a problem. I don't know how to render! I tried my best, but I don't think that this way of life is for me. I kept defaulting to cell shading while I was finishing up the piece, which you'll probably be able to notice in the speed paint. Alas. I'm really glad that I participated in this collab, and I can't wait to see what everyone else made. That's it for me. Stay safe, and I'll see you soon.
Hi, I'm Helium.circus, and I was paired with Tansi.berrie. I decided to draw my OC Rishia along with her boyfriend Alce in the corner. Did you like drawing in your partner's style? I loved it. Tansi's style is so cute and so up my alley. I had so much fun trying to imitate it. What was the most difficult thing about drawing in your partner's style? The most difficult thing, and I think this goes for imitating any style, is that there are a lot of little things that the artist does that they don't even think about, but to mimic that art you have to think about every stroke you put down and really analyze those little things that they do to make it look authentic, and I think that's kind of hard to look at everything and figure out what those things are. So yeah. What did you like the most about your partner's style? This stuck out to me the moment that I saw Tansi's art. She draws really long legs, and I think it looks so cool. I think it was a little difficult for me to pull off, and I'm still not entirely sure I did it right with the proportions, but oh my god, I just love it so much. Are there any similarities or differences between you and your partner's style? I think overall, me and Tansi's styles are very similar on the surface. I think the main difference is probably that Tansi uses line art, whereas I just turn my sketch into line art. So that was something weird that I had to kind of figure out. It's not like I don't know how to do line art, but I definitely don't do it like she does, so that was kind of the main thing that differed from my own process. And yes.
Next up, Mar and Jetski.
I absolutely love drawing in Jetski's art style. It was such a breath of fresh air. Line art. I myself never do line art and just render over the sketch, so doing detailed line art? Oh no. This experience made me want to experiment with more art styles. Even though I'm fully happy with my current art style, I still feel like trying something new once in a while is so refreshing and can help out of art block even. I really love the unique way Jetski colors the line art, which even though I don't do line art, I would love to incorporate that somehow into my own art.
I really enjoyed drawing in Mar's art style. Our styles are quite different from each other, so it was fun to try something new. Some things that weren't necessarily difficult, but more so getting used to, were the fact that Mart does everything on top of Sketch, whereas I do line art and render on top of that, so that was quite getting used to. And whereas I tried to keep clean shapes, Mart is much more messy with her rendering, so I had to keep that in mind as well. The thing that I actually quite like in Mart's style is that yellow filter on top of all finished pieces to make the colors more unanimous. But when I tried to do it in my own attempt, I thought I made it too yellow, so I toned down the filters in my first drafts, only to be told that it was not yellow enough, so I had to crank up the yellowness of my finished piece in the end quite a lot. I also had to learn how to make custom brushes in Krita, as Mar has quite a unique brush and we don't share the same art program. So while my custom brush is not a perfect replica, I do think I came close enough to pull off Mar's art style.
Next up, Rinnegan and Koioreu.
Hello, this is Rin, and I got paired up with Koioreu. When I signed up for this art style swap, I was really curious to see how my partner would do, but Koioreu did really well despite our vastly different styles. Are there any striking differences between you and your partner's style? Yes, very. My style is painterly and I don't use line art. It's something I abandoned years ago and now my art has evolved so much more because of it. I render every one of my artworks while Koioreu's style is more simple and sometimes doesn't even have shading. It was just line art and base color, which made it really easy for me to draw. However, moving on to the next question, do you think it might be hard for your partner to draw in your style? I'm not sure how difficult it felt for Koioreu to draw in my style, but from a glance, my style can be quite intimidating since it's so highly rendered and, you know, you can just tell I put a lot of time and effort into getting to where I am in my art journey. But I can say that she did an amazing job, which kinda surprised me since our styles were so different. Did you get a clear art style guide from your partner? And did you have a hard time explaining your own style to your partner? Yes, we both made guides for each other, although mine was kinda rushed and I had a lot more text to try to explain my art style. Thankfully, Koioreu made her guide really easy to follow, including the brush she uses, even the specific size, and she also included notes on proportions. I kinda had a hard time explaining my style since I didn't even know where to start, but I did provide my brushes, which are lightly customized to help me achieve my painterly aesthetic. But my guide must have been effective, even if it was lacking in some detail, because Koioreu was able to make an awesome drawing replicating my style. Anything else you'd like to tell the audience? I thought this collab was really fun, even though I procrastinated and left it to the last minute. Whoops. I guess that just comes with being a busy animation student. Koioreu was a real treat to talk to in the duration of the collab, and you should definitely go check her out. Thanks for listening to my section.
I don't know how to paint and I barely ever shade. At some point I just started throwing on colors hoping it would turn out. I'm also not used to using normal-ish proportions, not gonna lie. I had to resist making everything shorter. The most difficult thing was not having the foundations to emulate the style properly. Their style is honestly everything I try to avoid, like anatomy, color theory, and shading. You know, like half of art. I'm pretty sure every aspect of our styles are opposites of one another. I have really thick lines and they have a lineless style. I only do flat colors, and they are very painterly with beautiful colors and shading. They have anatomically correct proportions, and I make everything kinda condensed. I think my style is very simple, especially considering my partner's usual style is a lot more complex. Attempting a style like mine will probably be way easier than they're used to. I really like how they shade and the brushes they use to render. I think I may keep using those, although only if I want to do an illustration. I don't shade most of what I make because they're animatics and the drawings will only be shown for a few frames anyway.
Next up, Scatterbrainedart and Rotuwam.
Hello, I'm Scatterbrainedart, but you can call me Finn, and I swap styles with Rotuwam. I felt pretty good about my chances in this collab. I have also drawn in a variety of different styles throughout the years, and some of them are a lot more similar to Rotuwam's style than my current one. The guide she gave me was incredibly detailed. It broke down the whole process, even down to the colors and shadows and the pen choices. I honestly struggled a bit with describing my own style. The details of my stylization tend to vary from piece to piece, so I struggled to identify which parts were consistent enough to elaborate on. My process is, in general, all pretty messy, but I hope I ended up with something that was coherent enough to follow. I feel like our sketches are pretty similar. We both do some kind of semi-realism, so the stylization of the facial expressions and such weren't too far apart, though that also meant that it was a lot easier to accidentally slip back into my own style. Resisting muscle memory was hard. Everything took so much more time. After a while, I kind of got into the groove of things. I drew 2 characters, and because of that I obviously drew each feature double, which meant that I usually had an easier time drawing it the second time. The characters I chose to draw were 2 of my OCs. Rotuwam draws a lot of Kate Y fan art, so it only felt right that I replicate her style using my own favorite butch and femme couple. However, both of them had rather curly hair, which wasn't really depicted in any of the reference images I got sent. I could have probably asked for some, but instead I elected to try and figure it out based on the general shape language of the style. I felt like I understood the style pretty well at this point, and figured it could work as a good exercise to think even deeper about it. It took some trial and error, but I ended up with something that felt right. I still really enjoyed the process of the drawing, and I hope you all like the result.
1. I did. Trying a style wholly opposite to mine was very much a nice experience, and I love trying new things. 2. Oh, for sure, but who doesn't like a challenge? 3. Probably not having to care too much about the line art since my style is reliant on clean lines. 4. Rendering for sure. My style is cell shaded, and having to carefully render with brushes was certainly the most challenging part. 6. I had to learn some better blending techniques, I'd say, and to have fade past the quote-unquote ugly stage. 8. Our art styles are the most opposite art styles could be, and the differences were kind of never ending, to be honest. The most clear one I'd say is my clean line art, probably, versus her no clean line art. 9. Probably not, to be honest. I like to stay in my comfort zone, and this experience was certainly a reminder of why I prefer my comfort zone. 10. A little, I think. Maybe the more cleaner line art would be the hardest part, but other than that, I don't think it would be too bad for them. They're great artists. 13. I was definitely not confident. I was praying I didn't get an art style that was like heavily rendered. I guess I was not praying hard enough for it, but I did enjoy this experience for sure. Tackling this was, a very different kind of thing, but I think I did pretty great.
Next up, Elliart7 and Bvnnyart.
Oh boy, okay, this was a challenge for me. I got paired with Bunny, and her art style is more complex than mine in many ways. This was the first time I fully tried a different style in earnest, so it was a steep learning curve. I struggled a lot with expression and body language because I was focusing so hard on trying to get just the bare bones stuff to look right. I also think I could have done better with the lines. Bunny's art just has this softness to it that I couldn't quite manage to emulate. I feel like mine looks more over-blended than soft, if that makes sense. While I was snooping through Bunny's channel for references, she mentioned that she's not the biggest fan of line art, so I'm wondering if she's gonna have the opposite problem I had with a slightly cleaner lining style. I think at the end of the day, it ended up being more of a hybrid between our 2 styles as opposed to just me drawing in her style like I was supposed to, because when I didn't know what to do, it was hard to not just default to what I'm used to, if that makes sense. Especially with the later stages of rendering, I was just trying to reverse engineer her finished art at that point, doing basically the drawing equivalent of hootin' and hollerin'. At some point I remembered I needed to incorporate a watercolor brush somehow and started just using it as a blending tool. Dude, I didn't even freaking know at that point. I noticed sometimes on Bunny's videos, she poses her own 3D models first, which I'm also really bad at, but eventually I figured it out and it did help. I gotta say too, the eyes took me a minute to get the hang of, but they were a lot of fun. I keep my eyes super simple for efficiency and ease of expression, but there are completely different advantages with fully rendered irises. I loved being able to express the environment around her better through color choice and highlights, like the reflection of the stars. So that was my experience. It was fun. Thank you, Lee, for letting me participate.
Hi everybody, this is Bunny, and I'm here to talk about my partner's art style. Honestly, this was such a challenge for me, considering it wasn't my art style. It was very hard to draw in. I often have like routines of sketching and line art and rendering, and having to like step out of my routine pushed me a lot because I'm a comfort creature. So I always have in mind like, this is what I'm gonna do, this is how many layers I'm gonna use, etc. So it got very problematic for me because I had to like always pull up the guide from my partner's art style and be like, okay, this is what I have to do. Luckily, they had like a really detailed guide for me. Elliart was really helpful with that, and I always had to look on their Instagram page as well to make sure I was doing everything correctly. So I hope Elliart also had a wonderful time drawing my art style. It was really hard to explain because I can't really explain how I render, as a lot of you guys might, relate to. Rendering is just kind of something you do. So I hope Elliart had a great old time doing that. I think the hardest thing for me with this challenge was anatomy, because I have a hard time kind of simplifying anatomy for myself. Even with my own art style, I want to simplify it and I end up not simplifying it. So I think that was definitely the hardest for me. If anyone has noticed, there are striking differences between me and my partner's art style. I do a very anime-ish art style that's very detailed and rendered well. They do cell shading, I believe it's called, which I really enjoy actually. I really enjoyed having to just do cell shading and just let it go and not have to think about the final step where I have to render, because I can't lie, rendering is the most dreadful step there is in my art style. I hate doing it so much.
Next up, GhostToast and Jaysoda.
Hello, my name is GhostToast, and I swapped with Jaysoda. Now for the first question, did you like drawing in your partner's style? Yes, very much so. Was it hard to draw in your partner's style? Not really. The only part I had difficulty with was the hands. They draw hands really good. That was a bit of a learning curve for me. Are there any similarities between you and your partner's style? Well, I personally think there is. We both tend, in my opinion, we both draw eyes very similar. They're very expressive with our facial expressions. We both use very bright colors. We like to shade a lot when we decide to go all out and everything. And we draw hair very similar, in my opinion. Were you confident switching art styles with someone? I was scared and excited, but I've never done something like this before. But I think for my first time mimicking like someone else's art style, I think I did a really good job. Jay is a very, very sweet person. I want to talk to them more, and they're very interesting to talk to. And I want to see more of the art and what else they create in the future. Jay, you're probably watching this, or maybe you're not. I don't know. But you are a great person, and I love talking to you, and we should talk some more. And I'm really glad I got to participate in this with you. That is all. Bye.
What's up? Hey, I'm Jay, aka Jaysoda Art, and for this collab, I was teamed up with GhostToast. So first off, I definitely enjoyed drawing in my partner's style, and it was a lot of fun overall. I wouldn't say it was that hard because we have a lot of similarities, but there are some parts that were more challenging than others. Before we get into that though, my favorite part was definitely the line art. I had a lot of fun on the line art. The line art is very sketchy, very free, very flowing, and not a lot of closed lines. I wouldn't say I have the most clean line art ever, but I do make sure to close my lines and go over them, mostly because of the way that I do my coloring, because I use the paint bucket a lot. However, their art style has a lot of sketchy lines, which overall made it a lot more fun in the end and a lot quicker than how I usually do it. However, that brings us into the hardest part, which is definitely the coloring and rendering. I usually don't do a bunch of flat coloring and simple shading. My stuff is usually heavily rendered in some parts. So figuring out how they got that style, I'm honestly not even sure if I did it right, so I'm sorry if I ruined your art style. But I was definitely trying to figure out how they did their shading, and I think I was able to replicate it sort of like them. I think we both have really cartoony styles, and I don't have the most painterly style. I definitely still do line art, and it's very cartoonish and some flat areas and not super heavy rendering. So I think that made it easier than if I were to do like a super like painterly realistic style. However, despite our similarities, I still feel like I learned a lot, especially in terms of the line art. Like I said, it was my favorite part because it just reminded me how like fun art is supposed to be, and I still love the way I do my line art, but maybe I could take a page out of their book and make it more sketchy and loose. Overall, I joined this collab to learn about different art styles and hopefully improve my own. I feel like through studying theirs and also analyzing mine and giving them a layout and breakdown of my own art style, I feel like I definitely learned about what makes my art style mine and what I can add to it to improve it. I had a lot of fun and I definitely recommend doing it again.
Next up, Peppertice and ETTA.
Hi, I'm Peppertice and welcome to my chaotic corner. I switched artistic talents with ETTA, so once we got paired up, I immediately started doing my research. To my surprise, she isn't working for an art studio yet. Beautiful rendering and character design. Also, she's a manga artist. Lee, you know what you're doing. You ain't slick. Now, if you've seen my recent work, you know that I'm quite lazy with line art. I like thick lines, it's a lot more forgiving. However, her being a manga artist scared me. But come to find out, she also doesn't like line art, so win-win. I could still be a little bit lazy. Me and ETTA were pretty locked in for this challenge. Side note, she's also really sweet and gave me a lot of ideas that I didn't even think of, like putting our favorite colors in each other's works. At the end, I feel like you can probably guess what my favorite color is and guess what her favorite color is because it also takes up half of the screen. ETTA also mentioned that she enjoys weirdcore, so what I thought of was the Teletubbies baby, and that's why the sun's there. Regardless of the line art, one of the biggest issues that I had was that I kept drawing how I normally would do it. So before starting, I practiced a couple sketches first, then looked back at the references just to make sure they look accurate to hers. After that, pretty smooth sailing. I just accidentally turned this into more of a lineless style than the way that she does it, which includes the lines, so oops. Another thing is the character itself. I feel like a big part of her style is the costumes, and I made a knight, which is cool, just wasn't super eye-catching. The character design I chose was limiting as well, and didn't replicate it in the way I wanted it to. Complaints aside, I love the background and sun I did. To finish it off, I played around with filters just to give it an even more glitchy, weirdcore look. But what do you think? And make sure that you go support ETTA and her awesome videos. Lee, even though I despise you for that, thank you for inviting me to the collab.
Unfortunately, ETTA was unavailable, but she did submit an amazing rendition in Peppertice's style. Big claps to ETTA for making such a cool piece. I think I know Peppertice's favorite color now. Wow, so many unique renditions. Thank you everyone who participated in this collab. I think you guys should all check out these sweethearts who participated and send them some love. Like, right now. Thank you so much for watching to the end, and I hope you have an amazing day. Now I'm gonna go pass out.